For me, a ramen bowl is a nice, satisfying curve. It's nice and deep enough to kind of get a broth if you're having sort of a noodle soup ramen out of it. Hi folks, it's Lily here from Mae Ceramics. Today we're going to be throwing ramen bowls. I've weighed out balls of clay of 1800 grams. Honestly, probably too much clay, but last time I made these I did not write down my measurements, so I had to guess, which isn't great practice. When you're production throwing, you want to write down what you're doing. Anyway, I would probably weigh maybe 1600 grams, 15 or 1600 grams. This is what it will look like when it's finished. For me, a ramen bowl is a nice, satisfying curve. It's nice and deep as well as wide, so that you can get lots of goodness in there. I like to start with a lot more clay than I probably need, as I obviously thought when I was weighing out these balls of clay, because I like to leave a nice chunk of clay down the bottom so that we can trim a very satisfying foot ring into it later. I've got all my clay ready, I've got my wheel ready and set up. So yeah, let's get started on making these guys. I usually do it the other way around, where I chat and then make, but you know what, I've made this already. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. So today I'm throwing on a bat ring. I'm just going to attach the bat, get it in the center. I've got a big lump of clay that I wedged the other day. I'm just going to chuck it down on the wheel head as much in the middle as I can. And this is just to kind of help me with the centering process. The more clay that you use, the harder you have to work to get the piece into the middle. So if you can kind of chuck it down onto the wheel, as center as possible, then you're going to be kind of fighting with it less. So centering larger pieces of clay, I use the coning technique. I find it helps me a lot more than just kind of sitting here like this trying to get it into the middle. So I'm going to bring it up by kind of cupping my hands up like this and then pushing back down. Gonna do it again. So now that the clay is centered, I am going to open it up and then bring the walls up and then bring the walls out. So for bowls, unlike cylinders, you want to kind of have a rounded bottom. Not necessarily, but kind of as a rule, bowls have bowl insides, whereas a cylinder is kind of squared. So for a bowl, when you open it, you want to establish that kind of rounded shape on the inside as early as possible. So when I'm opening, I'm not kind of pulling it out and then coming up like I would with a cylinder. I'm thinking about that form now, and I am kind of shaping it already. So I'm using my thumb, which is kind of a naturally curved part of my body. I don't know if you have hitchhiker thumbs. If you don't, then you can, I don't know, use the pads of your fingers, or just kind of this little part of your thumb, maybe even a sponge. But for me, I was given these as a gift, and I guess it's to open bowls up. I don't have enough strength in just my thumb, so I'm using my other hand to support that movement. So now we have an opened ball of clay, and we're going to bring the walls up, and then we're going to shape them up. So I'm switching my hands over, and again, like a cylinder, I'm going to bring the walls up, but it's kind of different. With a cylinder, you are just working in sort of this one area and you're going like this. With a bowl, you're kind of having to move your inside hands before your outside hands move, so you're sort of bowling around. You're kind of following that curve that you've just established with your inside fingers, and then when you are kind of at that shoulder point where your outside fingers are waiting, then you can start moving up. But it's really important not to kind of move your outside hand too quickly, otherwise you're going to kind of throw it off center. So it's about here that I can start moving both hands as one. And just like a cylinder, you want to pull up your walls in this kind of cone shape. Press the rim, I'm going to do that again. I don't want it to go too much higher than that, otherwise I'm just going to lose loads of clay off the top, because I'm throwing to a shape that I've already established. To be honest though, I probably have a little bit too much clay, because there's lots of clay that I could move from the bottom, but I just want it to start going out now. So the reason that I am shaping with a sponge is because it has this kind of nice rounded shape. I can do it with my fingers, I just find it is a little bit easier to keep the inside nice and neat when I do it with a sponge. Do note though that I always am keeping my hands together. There's always kind of one thumb or one finger or something resting on the other hand, so that they're working as a dance rather than working independently of each other. Always compress the rim. A little bit more to go. Check the width there, it's good, and the height, perfect. So I'm just going to remove some of the slip from the outside. Can you see this little air bubble? Just there. I'll deal with that when the clay is leather hard. It's not very big, but I can feel it as I'm throwing. I'm using reclaim, so it's possible that I just missed something maybe in the clay when I was wedging it, or it could just be good old air bubble. So because I am production throwing today, I'm going to be throwing lots of this shape. I'm going to get my guide ready. And that just means I'm going to make the same shape over and over, and I don't have to measure it every time. Get rid of some of this excess clay and slip down the bottom. Just get rid of these last drips of water from the inside. And it's good to go. So I'll chop it off the wheel. And that's it, a nice fat bottom bowl. Tomorrow I will be trimming the foot ring into it. Here they are. Here are my friends. I've got 21 of them, which is a nice day's work, I feel. And then I've got a couple more from the other day, which I threw. These guys are almost ready for trimming. This one has been drying for a couple of days. These ones will dry probably for 2 or 3 days as well. It's not very warm at the moment, so it takes a little bit longer. Thank you for joining me. Feel free to like and subscribe, share with a friend, you know the deal. Have a look for me on Instagram. I'm at Mae Ceramics, where I'm a lot more active, my day-to-day kind of stuff. So yeah, see you later. Ciao.